Hello, hello, and welcome to Hope and Healing at Home. So glad you're here again. Today we are going to take a look again at cracking open our emotions. I was feeling very inspired by that theme last week and kept coming up with new ideas, and I thought we'd delve in a little bit further today. I did remember to bring the feeling discovery cards that I mentioned last time. They come with all these great ideas. They're color-coded, which I've done it with clients before, had them sort the emotions into different main emotions, and they don't always match up with the creator's color code. But it comes with some great ideas for how to use the cards. Just go through those real quick. Some charade type ones, getting to know how to read yourself, getting to know how to read other people. So there's some perspective taking things. Then there's some feeling management activities, identification activities, getting to know you. So they spell out some real nice ones. There's lots of different emotions depicted on here. And it's nice to have them in the card size because you can do a lot of different things. You can play the card games that they describe. You can make up your own card games with them. If you got 2 decks of these, you could play Go Fish. It opens up the conversation about emotions. It helps give kids vocabulary for naming their emotions. And also, kind of like with art therapy, one of the nice things about something tangible like this is it gets the kids away from, and us adults, away from feeling like we're always talking about just ourselves. And it makes it easier because it puts it out in front of us. It puts it out on the table, literally, out on the paper, between ourselves and whoever we're talking to, and allows us to explore it a little bit better. So one of the activities that I've done that's been really helpful with this is I let people look at all of them, and then they start sorting them to the different degrees that they might feel. And I should have sorted this out before, but they might like sort them into like happy or neutral, all the way to like nervous and feeling bad about ourselves, feeling angry, and what might come, confusion might come between different emotions. It's great because you can really get to know somebody and how they group their feelings, how they perceive the world. You could ask many different questions and you could sort them all different ways. So I had some really fun little experiments that I was dreaming of doing last night with you guys here, but I did not have time to run to the store today to get eggs. So I came up with second best thing is these little plastic eggs. One thing I was thinking that would be really cool, a little bit reminiscent of the soda activity we did a while back, and combining that with last week's flashcards for emotions. What I thought might be kind of cool is you could, obviously not on this glitter, well, you could get permanent marker and write on the glittery ones, but on a lighter color plastic egg, you could take permanent markers and decorate it. You could write the emotion on it. If you had a thin piece of paper with a picture of the emotion, you could Mod Podge or glue or use some clear mailing tape and glue an image right onto the egg. Just make sure you cut where the seam is so that you can open the egg up. And then inside, you could put little objects. Let's go with this one because I think that could be a really fun one, a board one. This could be handy in so many different realms of describing how we're bored. So if I were to do this, maybe I would tape it on, maybe I would write bored on here. So this is what I mean by that clear mailing tape. Or you could get laminating sheets and you could just cut it out and quick tape it on, right on there. Or you could just write the word bored and literally crack the emotion open. I was quite inspired by a picture I found for today's heading and last week's heading as well. So for bored, how does our body feel Kind of those questions from last week. We asked, what was the name of the emotion? How do we act? How do we speak? What does our body do when we're feeling that emotion? How are we thinking? If that emotion were a color, a sound, a song, a temperature, a season, a food, anything. It just helps define it. And then there were some other questions that we also came up with. When we're feeling this way, what do we need? What things make us feel this way? What helps us get back towards calm and in control, able to make a really good decision about what to do with this emotion instead of just lashing out? That's a particularly good one for anger. And anger was one of them that we talked about last week, with how often we want to be negatively active when we're mad. So looking at what can help us get calm so that we can express our anger in a healthy, safe way. Anybody remembers we did bossy as well. And we'll get into this a little bit more. I'm going to go back to bored. How do we describe that? What do we do with that? And this activity, honestly, guys, I do this one a ton with people, is specifically thinking about bored. What do parents do when their kids say they're bored besides get really frustrated? Because they're constantly feeling like they have to be the cruise director, the activity director, coming up with these activities to keep their kids engaged, and that can be super exhausting when you already have so much else on your plate. So one way to get kids a little more independence when they're feeling bored is to, when you're calm one day and you guys have time to go through it, is brainstorm activities that they could do when they're bored. So things they could independently do. They could play fetch with the dog. They could pet the cat. They could organize. Some kids actually like to organize. Some adults actually like to organize. They could call a friend, write a card, letter, email, all sorts of stuff. They could call. Oh, also with friend, they could call a family member. What grandparent or aunt or uncle wouldn't love a random call from somebody in the family? They could read a book. So I think you get the idea. You could really get them to brainstorm some things. They could do a chore. They could do some fun things. They could make art. Sorry, my brain's spinning now. They could play a game. And they could do this by themselves. They could do this. They could invite one of their siblings to do that. So the goal is to have them create this list that they could do without needing your permission. You know they're very capable of doing this. And maybe I've done it where I've had them do a list of things they need permission for, a list that they don't need permission for, a list of things they could do in nice weather, in rainy weather, in cold weather. So there'd be inside things and outside things. You know, let your brains spin, come up with a huge list. You could color code those things if you wanted to as well, so you don't have to think so hard. So what I was thinking with the eggs is you could take this list and you could cut it up, you could tear it up into strips and fold it up and put it right in the egg, so that next time they're bored, they would have this whole thing and they could just shake it up, give it a good shake. Oh my goodness, I'm bored. What could I do? Well, I'm going to go grab my bored egg. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take something out. Open it up. Surprise! I have something to go do. Now, they could also keep sifting through it till they found something they wanted to do. If you were going to do a different emotion, maybe bored is not the emotion you really struggle with, maybe sadness or overwhelm is one of your emotions. So with overwhelm, maybe one of the things on your list is make a list of all that you have to do and pick the most important one, or take each one and then make another list about what's involved in that task to help break things down for them. And they won't always need you to tell them how to get out of overwhelm, because they will have their egg of coping skills. And you don't have to use an egg. I'm just using an egg because I was really inspired by the picture of the motion eggs that I found, and it was making me laugh, so I thought I'd go with that. You could use any kind of a jar or little box. So something I've done with people a bunch with sadness and anxiety especially, but you could do it with anger. I'm going to use the furious face here. You could do depression. I can't find the anxiety card right now. But instead of coming up with a list of things that you would do when you're bored, maybe the list would include your coping skills with these things. So maybe if you take a breath might be for a bunch of them, and it would go in every egg. Maybe for sad, it would be ask for a hug. Go snuggle with the dog, or maybe you cry, maybe you journal, maybe you find someone to talk to, maybe you go pet the cat. So think of things to do that when you're sad. You can, again, you know, take your list. And if you don't want to cut or tear the list up and fold it up and put it in your egg or jar or container of something, you don't need to do that. You could have it just posted somewhere. You could have small colored things of paper or post-it notes that you put in there or on the wall under the picture of the different emotions that that coping skill really helps with. Which leads me to the big activity that I wanted to do with you guys today, is a feeling thermometer. What I like to do with people is we do like the really old-fashioned kind of thermometers. And down here we would do a color, a picture, and maybe this is calm or neutral. So you fill it in with whatever color that you want. When everything's low, life's just going easy, okay? Or maybe, yeah. And then you start putting little marks on your thermometer. And this top one would obviously be like the explosion bit. This is when it is just too hot to handle. The emotion's super intense. It's going nuts all over the place, like totally out of control. This would be what I call the red zone with anger. Nobody can logically make sense with you. Any interactions like pouring gasoline on the situation. Okay, so this would be the out of control. That I'm gonna go with anxiety. So this out of control, this might even be panic attack time. And maybe this first step, just a little above calm, would be like when the hackles go up on the back of your neck and you just, something's just not right. This is the something's just not right spot. You can get that first little inkling that things are off. I feel like I can't just be calm here. I need to be on alert. You're also like alert here. Something has grabbed your attention, to know that life's not just calm, fine for you right now. Anxiety. And then you talk, and you talk about what goes on in your body and your thinking here, and you talk about what goes on in your body and your thinking here. And then you say, well, what's one step above this alert zone? And what's one step before panic zone? So this might be one step below panic, might be, maybe this is where you start hyperventilating. Maybe you get up into, like, body gets tense here. And maybe you're holding your breath here. And maybe you get, see, somewhere in here, a little bit below hyperventilating, a little bit more anxious than tense. Maybe you're almost feeling scared, wanting to hide. Maybe you get a little snappy right here. And maybe right before hyperventilating, right after this little zone, whatever we want to call it, is you get a little shaky. Maybe your eyes are big. Maybe you're sweating. All of those good things. Heart rate, put heart rate up. So what's super helpful about doing this kind of an activity is when things are calm and you're going through this activity, that you can start to see that there are stages. It's not a light switch, which is what almost everybody comes in describing it as to me, like, oh, I go from totally fine to panic attack. There's no in between. I said, oh, indeed there is. So we start doing this and we start slowing the thinking down. We start asking those questions of what happened just after, what happened just before that. And you can start to piece this thermometer together, and then you can start saying, well, what are the things that move you out of calm? What raises, well, in the really old-fashioned ones, it was mercury, right? I don't know what they're filled with now, but what raises this liquid to something's not right? What are those activities? What are those situations or those words from other people? And what raises it up again? And again. Again and again. So what are the things that raise it up each step? And you would write those, over here or something, or on a separate piece of paper. And then here's the super, super important question of this whole activity. What things bring it back down? So what are things that raise it up, that get you more anxious, that move you towards panic attack? Is it being in a closed room? Is it someone saying something, or someone kind of cornering you, someone raising their voice? Is it getting confused on a test question and then suddenly you can't think for any of the questions? What moves you towards panic attack? And then what are the steps? What are the things you can do, your coping skills, that pull you back down towards neutral, back towards calm, back towards, hey, I can think through life, I can make a plan, I can make a decision, I can finish this test. And then you would also, write those down over here. And the thing is, it's not going to go from 0 to panic attack with a light switch, and neither is it going to go from panic attack back down to neutral like a light switch. You're going to take it in little steps. And the big goal of all of this is, once everyone is aware, you can help people. You can recognize, let me just give these numbers. It'd be easier to talk about like that. You can start recognizing when someone in your house is at a 2 or a 5. Maybe you can give them hints to say, hey, it seems like you're, feeling a little nervous, a little overwhelmed. Would you like to go for a walk with me? Would it be helpful to take a deep breath? Do you need a hug? You can start cueing into what that other person in your life might be needing, and you can start offering it. The real gem of the whole thing is, soon we start to recognize in ourselves, and kids start to recognize in themselves when they're moving, where they are on the thermometer. So if they can catch themselves at a 3, they can ask for a hug. They can take a break. If a conversation's making them start to feel sweaty, or they realize they're like wide-eyed and looking for an escape route, or not hearing what the other person is saying, they can say, hey, I'm feeling nervous, I need a break. And they can go take a break. They can go to the bathroom, get a glass of water, go pet the dog, go outside for a little bike ride, go run a lap around the house, whatever they need to do. And they can bring themselves down to a 2, where they can come in and finish the conversation with you. Or if homework's making them feel overwhelmed and they realize that all of a sudden they're holding their breath, or they're getting sweaty, or they're starting to breathe really, really fast, they can go, oh, wait, this is anxiety and I need to take a break, or I need to ask for help. Maybe I need to take a break before I can ask for help. And they start to be able to regulate their emotion, because they start to be in tune with where they are and what they need in that moment. So that's the emotional thermometer. You can do this with pictures. So like last week we did the anger flashcard, and I depicted it as a volcano. And you can do this not just on a flashcard, but you could do it on a whole sheet of paper. Have somebody think of their anger like a volcano and start to draw it. Oh, it's 5:30. Okay, so hint, we're going to come back and I'm going to go over some whole pictures about emotions. So today we did anxiety. We did and you can do this for any emotion. You can do it for anxiety, sadness, depression, feeling bullied, feeling scared, feeling hurt. You can do it for happy emotions. What makes me, so a happy emotion might be surprise or ecstatic or joyful. And learn how I can feel this emotion, but I don't need to be over the top, out of control with this emotion, and what things can pull me back down. So next week we're going to go over a grief exercise, which I'm pretty excited to share with you. And then maybe the following week, or one of the following weeks, we're going to do the angry volcano, and we'll do an anxious teapot, and we'll do some other full-scale drawings that really get into some emotions. Anyway, so thank you so much for coming today, for watching, whether you watch live or on the replay. If there's an emotion or a situation that you would really like to see me do some art therapy around and give you some ideas on how to handle it creatively, please let me know. I will make sure to get a Facebook Live together on it. So thanks for coming. I hope you guys have a great weekend, a great Thursday evening. Talk to you later.